Hey guys, it's Mac and Zach again, and we have our lovely guest Dottie Vox. Dottie is a professional game master, but has been playing since '04, and is a professional actress, a production artist, and has the. What?
I'm counting for you.
Oh, okay. I was like, what am I doing?
A long list.
Yes. Well, you accomplished, but my favorite about it is not only do you try to make gaming and
Running
an
out of hands.
open environment for anyone to feel invited to play, to enjoy in such a really great social experiment. But you also want to pet every single dog on the planet, which I can totally get behind. I'm all about it. I should.
Yes.
This is where I should have a picture of Frankie like a
I
float.
was about to say Frankie's gonna see us and
She's
you're
like,
gonna
"What dogs you petting,
Yeah.
Dad? What dogs are you
Mhm.
petting?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, baby. That's just."
They always know. They always know.
Dottie, thanks for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Hello.
Yeah,
How are
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are things with you?
Oh, pretty good. All things considered.
Quarantine, this pesky virus thing, world
Just
going
global
crazy.
pandemic.
Honestly,
you
we're
know.
all chilling and vibing at
Yeah.
home.
The best part about doing these interviews is the audience cannot see that I'm wearing pajama pants and nothing else.
That's a lie. He's wearing no pants.
Well,
I mean-
everyone knows that's a lie because that's cold.
At this point of quarantine, I feel like pants are optional at all times.
I did a video for
that's where I'm
Go
at.
for Games last night. I wasn't wearing pants.
I don't know why. Why do
No one
I
can see me.
dig a little bit and you give me way more than I'm ready for?
Yep.
So Dottie, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the gaming hobby?
Oh, for sure. So I've actually been tangentially gaming since I was about 4 years old. My dad, I come from nerd stock. My dad is a huge gamer. My mom's a big literature nerd. And when I was 4 years old, we used to break out the copy of Hero Quest, the board game.
Awesome.
Yeah, OG Hero Quest.
Right.
We broke that out after dinner every night, and my parents and my brother and we would play through Hero Quest with my dad kind of GMing it's kind of a, for people that aren't familiar with Hero Quest, it's kind of a hybrid of a board game and like a D&D tabletop RPG kind of thing. And I got really excited about that because I got to pretend to be somebody else. I was always obsessed with pretend and dress up and all this stuff. And so I always had kind of like nerdy interests. And then my first actual gaming group came about shortly before I graduated high school. So in '04. And yeah, we started playing in 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm actually still part of that same gaming group.
Wow.
Yeah.
15-year gaming group.
Yeah. It's been it's fluctuated the players, and we don't game anywhere near in the quantities or as frequently as we used to, because most of the group has gotten married and had kids and done all this stuff. And but yeah, I started gaming with them. And then when Pathfinder came out, we decided we wanted to start playing Pathfinder because they were going to be continuing to have the like pre-written adventure paths, which is what our GM likes to run. So we were some of the like earlier playtesters for some of the Pathfinder stuff, and we got really into that, and we played a lot of Pathfinder. And through that, I started running games at conventions like Gen Con and running for Pathfinder Society. Pathfinder Society also, then I also got involved in doing events with Wizards of the Coast, and doing a little teaching for D&D there, doing a little bit of teaching people Magic the Gathering, which I also have played since the game started. I remember my brother is 6 years older than me, and he came back with 2 starter decks from Alpha and was like, hey, you're gonna learn to play this game because you're here. So You know, and it went over very well with my hardcore conservative Christian mom that I wanted to play like the black zombies, like rats, ducks, and stuff. But yeah, so I got involved in the event scene and teaching people to play through that, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And it's been kind of a side, the teaching aspect of it and running games at conventions and stuff has been kind of like a little side hobby that I've had since I think the first year that I did it was 2007 2008, I think might have been my first Gen Con. But yeah, so, and I have so much fun
Yes, it's a
running
great
games
show.
at conventions.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love Gen Con. And I got to do PAX Unplugged a couple of years ago in Philly. That's another one of my favorite conventions to do events at. I was working on the Magic the Gathering side for that one, and that was really fun. And not just because the food was like really good, but it was also just a really fun gig.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got that's kind of the arc of where all that came from. And then this year, with everything going online, the progression of, hey, I occasionally teach people games at conventions, to I am a sort of on-call professional dungeon master.
Right.
This year just kind of escalated from, at the beginning when quarantine was starting, I put together a Discord server for just, like some buddies of mine to be like, hey, let's put this up, and we can just, people can run one shots, and it's very much in the vein of like when you used to go to the game store and put your index card up on the bulletin board being like, I'm looking for 3 players for World of Darkness, email me at my Yahoo email address, like so it was started in that vein, and it really snowballed being in quarantine and me having severe extrovert problems in addition to the ADHD. So yeah, I started teaching new players. Like I would meet new people. I would like meet new people online and invite them to the Discord, and lure them in to turn them into D&D players. And yeah, it just really snowballed from there. So the Discord is still up and running, and we do stuff like that. I got involved with Start Playing Games and started running the 101 class on there. I got some really great feedback and continue to kind of update and polish the curriculum, which is my goal, to sort of put all of the really excellent feedback that I've gotten into making a nice polished product so that I can put it up so that people can use it if they want to. But yeah, that's
Actually,
just a big snowball.
No, like
Story.
yeah, you actually segued already into kind of something we wanted to talk about next, was the fact that you put together this really awesome D&D 101, 5th edition 101 curriculum for new players to be able to use to kind of, not have to just fend for themselves, like, now I'm doing this D&D thing and I don't know what's going on.
D&D can be really,
it can
complex.
be very,
like, even 5th edition being something that's way more approachable, in my opinion, just for younger people or people who just never been exposed to it. It can still be quite a lot.
No, it can definitely be intimidating. So could you tell our viewers a little bit about your curriculum, and what it took to put something like that together?
Yeah, sure. So the curriculum kind of has it kind of has 3 parts to it. I explain the basic mechanics of 5th edition, so how combat works, how skill checks work, how to build a character, and I don't go super duper into detail, like down into the tiny nitty gritty stuff, but I give everyone enough information that they could make a character and play in a game. And then the best way that you learn is through doing. So the second half of the class, I honestly don't know what to call it yet. But the second half is actually playing through a mini adventure that I wrote with pre-generated characters that showcases the 3 aspects of Dungeons and Dragons. So skills, social/role playing, and combat. So it has like kind of a little miniature section for each of those. You know, you've got your campfire scene where everybody talks about their characters, and it introduces the players to the concept of like speaking as your character, and, you know, a little bit of the improv that you do at the D&D table. And then, you know, there's a little mini dungeon with some puzzles and some combat and some traps and, you know, fun stuff like that to just kind of showcase the different things that D&D can do in a very concise, like easy to digest kind of way. And then the third part that I talk about is the sort of meta aspects of playing D&D. So things like how to find other players, and how to be a sort of good citizen of the gaming community, and, you know, talking about being communicative with your players as a GM, being communicative with your GM as a player, you know, things like communicating any boundaries you might have in the gaming, as well as like kind of my cardinal rule of you can always leave. Because I think especially for younger players, especially for you know, for women and non-binary players, like there's always kind of that apprehension of like, you've been told to like just go along with stuff and like don't make a fuss. But one thing I always want to stress to people is if someone is making you feel uncomfortable, you're 100% cool to like just be like, hey, thanks for the invite, but this is not for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to, you know, I want the next generation of gaming to be more inclusive and more welcoming than it has been in the past. You know, because I remember, you know, over a decade ago almost, and I remember being the only female GM in the room at a con, you know, and it's way different now, and the community is so much more diverse and things like that. So I want to just make sure that it's, you know, it's welcoming, and that people understand that like, hey, communication and good communication makes your game better. It makes it more fun for everyone. I feel like there kind of used to be this vibe of like, oh, we want to keep things secret and surprise the players and do kind of, you know, stuff like that. But I tell people, you're allowed to have things that you don't want in a game. Like that's totally fine. And like the example I use, you know, how I say like, oh, I want to pet every dog. Like my example is I have a hard limit on gaming that I never want to have cruelty to animals take place in a game that I'm playing. Because that it upsets me, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's not what I'm here for, you know, in a game. So I like to explain to the players, it doesn't just have to be like big scary stuff, you know, like real world scary stuff that you don't want in your game. It can be something as silly as like, oh, you have severe arachnophobia. Okay, let's change the monsters in the dungeon from giant spiders to something else, you know. And this idea that when you sort of meta communicate at the table, it makes for better gaming, and it makes for you know, players that come back and players that want to keep gaming.
Absolutely. With this year especially, but one of the kind of longest and hardest lessons I've learned has been, it's okay to say I do not like this.
Yes.
And this year kind of especially just pounded that into my brain, that I can just say, hey, I don't like this, and I'm not a bad person for that.
Absolutely. And that was
it's gaming or anything else.
Absolutely. And that was one of the big things when I was coming up with this sort of like curriculum outline for teaching people, was right when there was a big kerfuffle on one of the really popular live plays, where there was a scene that got out of hand and the players weren't comfortable, and it you know, it really like it made people have a bad time at the table, right? Because like stuff happened that not everybody was cool with, and the other players at the table are like, do we say something? And, you know, and so I try to give people tools to I try to just like give people the tools to have a good time and to, set reasonable boundaries and be communicative. What? And then I also do a lot of stuff with, so like I have ADHD. I'm I'm a neurodiverse gamer. And I also am starting up on Twitter to talk on Tuesdays, talking about the toolbox for neurodiverse gamers, because it's a little different for us. Like, I can't sit down and read a book from cover to cover. It's not how I learn. It's not how I'm, going to learn to play. So like we just talk about little tools and tips and things that are helpful, like index cards, like asking for accommodations at the table and how to approach that and things like that. Again, all with this ultimate goal of just being as inclusive as possible at the table. And I just want everybody to have a good time, man. Like that's what I'm here for.
No, that's really fantastic. Like yet another segue. You do some work professionally with Kat Blackard on their audio drama production.
I love Kat.
And we had her on a couple episodes back, and we had the most fantastic interview with her. He explained a lot of the things she did and how she started and things like that. What I would like to know, especially for a neurodiverse gamer as yourself, and also working on a professional audio drama production like that, what does it take to kind of get ready for that type of gameplay? Because that is very different from like
for sure
regular gameplay.
Yeah. So previously with Omniverse, I had been kind of on the B team of Dungeons and Doritos, which is the podcast, Lefty Lucy was on for a while. And that's how I kind of met everybody there. And then Keeper Luke, who is the storyteller for the Call of Cthulhu Mystery Program, and I are buddies from forever ago, from just like meeting through friends of friends at conventions. I think we met at MegaCon playing a Paranoia LARP that took place across the entire convention.
Okay.
There we had like cards and running around, total chaos, but that's Paranoia, like that's you're expected. But yeah, so when Kat invited me to do the Call of Cthulhu Mystery Program, I was stoked because it's one of my favorite live play, like audio drama gaming podcasts. It's so well done. The production value is just so good.
Really, we listen.
I love it. I like binged an entire season when I was working out in Anaheim for Disney parks, doing stuff for them, and just I was so excited to get to do it. And so the things that really helped is we had conversation. So when you're doing something like a live play, it's a little more planning and a little more discussing, like, okay, I'm going to play this type of character. This person's going to play this type of character. We all kind of came up with our sort of hook to the story as a group. And, just to make sure that and especially because we were doing it as like a 2-night event live stream, and then it's being edited into a podcast. So for the live stream, we wanted to make sure that you didn't get stuck in that kind of initial quagmire that a lot of games can get, where it's like, okay, we've got these characters, they don't know each other, can they trust each other, like kind of stuff. So we really wanted to give our players sort of connections to each other, connections to the setting, and things like that. So we established all of that stuff beforehand, which was super helpful. We all had, in having conversations with Kat about, boundaries in gaming and what had happened on that, podcast and things like that, we all filled out a big checklist of like, this is cool to have in the game, this is not cool to have in the game, that kind of stuff, and sent it over to the GM, right? So that Luke knew what could and could not go in the game. And we all understood, like in Cthulhu in particular, right? Like you are bound to see some horror. That's part of the game and that's part of the thing. And, we had some kind of like discussions about that. Yeah. And we just were able to kind of get a feel for each other ahead of time. And it really led to like a good jumping off point to then put all of this like great improv for the 2 nights of the live stream. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there were plenty of twists and turns and surprises. It was not by any stretch of the imagination all planned out. But what was prepped ahead of time was the jumping off point to give everybody kind of a firm foundation. And then, it's Cthulhu. So it quickly devolved, especially for, like a 2-night stream. And everybody that was involved in that podcast, like all of the other players and Luke and Kat and all this, like our, producers, everybody was just super great, super excited. Like it was really cool. And for me personally, for my, like, the things I need to do to be a successful player in a game, like with ADHD, is like, I have 2 monitors. I had 4 different windows pulled up on my other monitor. And it's like, okay, my character sheet is in this one. References to the 1920s are in this one. I've got, I've got the rules for such and such ability. I don't want to get too specific because not the whole podcast. Not, I've got the rules for X, Y, and Z pulled up in this window. And, and then I've got we have our little, Discord chat if we need to whisper to the GM kind of situation. And that's one of my things when I talk to other neurodiverse gamers and storytellers and dungeon masters and things like that, is whatever works for you, right? Because we're all different. It's a huge spectrum. Different things are going to work for different people. And for me, I like to have sort of a little cloud of visuals around me when I'm running. I like to have I'll have a big GM screen if I'm running in person, or if I'm running online, I'll have my other monitor pulled up with all the things I might need to reference. Cause my short-term memory sucks. It's part of having ADHD. And so having those references is great. I'm a huge fan of index cards. I literally have index cards taped up to my bookcase right next to my desk, and just keeping everything sort of in visual for me. But yeah, just doing that kind of prep stuff that I've trial and error discovered what works for me and things like that. So. But awesome. Oh my gosh, that podcast is so much fun. I loved it. So
it is. I was such a big fan because in our preparation for that interview, I was like, well, I gotta listen to some of their work. And I listened to the first one, I was like, that was really cool. Let me listen to the second one. And then it was a rabbit hole. I was
and then you're like, where did the last 6 hours go?
But no, it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoy the work that you guys have done. It was so good. I can totally understand how Kat has been able to have one of the oldest audio drama productions ever, because their work.
Absolutely. And she's just such a delightful human.
No, she's really great.
I love her so much.
Super fantastic. I'm a big fan. So Dottie, do you have any other personal projects that you're working on, or anything that we can let our audience know about?
Yeah, sure. So of course I have a couple of, again, ADHD. I've got just a handful of projects scattered across the internet. So the best way to keep track of all the insanity that I am taking part in is just to follow me on Twitter at Dottie Vox. On Tuesdays, I'm doing, Toolbox Tuesdays, and, trying to get conversations with other, I want to start these conversations with other neurodiverse gamers. And I want to talk about these are tips and tricks that work for me. What works for you? And kind of compiling that into a Twitter thread on Tuesdays. On Wednesday nights, I stream on Twitch, and I do cosplay makeup and chat and nerd chat. So it's just a chatting program, and I do some kind of elaborate cosplay makeup. I've done 3 so far. I did. It was Dragon Age Day, so I did Femhawk from Dragon Age 2, and I did Poison Ivy the week after that. And then last week I recreated Sajik's Harleen cover with the broken mask and stuff. And it's fun. It's just like a couple hours and we just like talk about the nerdy news of the week. It's like 50% like talk show, 50% hanging out with your friend while they put on weird makeup. Like, so that's a lot of fun. And it's the same on Twitch. It's Dottie Vox. Like that's pretty much across most platforms where I'm at. I'm also in the process, like I said, of polishing and publishing the 5e 101 outline curriculum, whatever you want to call it. And that's going to be freely available to anybody that wants it, that would like to use it, incorporate it, mutilate it, repurpose it, steal it, whatever you want to do with it. Great. Love it. I do I dabble in cartography and I make battle maps and things like that, which I'm getting more and more into and having a lot of fun with that. And I'm also, again, ADHD, doing 1,000 things at once. I am also in the process of getting ready to create my own live play adventure. I'm in the process of writing a homebrew 5e campaign. It's called Dungeons and Bastards. And it's a revamp of a campaign that had been started a couple years ago, and we built a whole world for it and did a whole thing. And so we're getting ready to do that as like a live play. And so that's coming up. And then I also produce online nerdy burlesque shows. I actually have one tomorrow, or I guess if this is airing on Saturday, it'll be tonight. But that's all done through my alter ego, Ruby Darling. I produce, nerdy burlesque stuff. And we've been trying to do some online shows, and we're kind of seeing how that goes. So there may be some more of those in the future. But yeah, but most of this like information gets compiled on my Twitter. That I'm trying to be like, keep everything available here. And then all of the resources like the adventures and maps and things like that are all going to be going up on my Ko-fi page for like a pay what you can kind of situation. Just, because I want everybody to be able to have fun with it.
And I know that our amazing and thoughtful producer, Lucy, is going to put that wonderful link for your Ko-fi page.
Yes.
Where? Right.
You
Somewhere.
You don't want to know where, buddy.
Here.
Here.
Oh, you see, she does it too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love it. I get fun all the time. It's like, Mac, where are you signing? I'm like, magic of editing. It's gonna be here.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah. Sorry, there's like one more thing tickling my brain, and I'm trying to get it together. Brain, you can do it. I also, if you're interested in booking me as a GM, I am available through the Start Playing Games website, and you can check out all my GM credentials there.
No, honestly, through the pandemic, you're right. It has blown up. We also have a Discord server where games for things like that, and it's just been super popular. Because people want to be safe, but still have some form of entertainment.
Absolutely.
Also, on top of that, with when we reopened we reopened virtually and then we reopened the store after lockdown, there was an extreme uptick in role-playing games.
Oh yeah.
And supplies. And I'm telling you, everyone who walked through the door, yeah, I did this when I was a kid, and I'm just getting back into it. It's like you and the rest of the city, buddy.
Yeah. Well, it's
weird about it. Like everyone is doing this right now. Have you found that in your experience as
Oh,
well?
absolutely. It is wild, like how popular tabletop role-playing games have become, and I'm super excited about that. I'm super thrilled about it that like more people are discovering how awesome these games are and how much fun it is, and I'm here for it. And I love like you go on TikTok and there's like a whole like D&D section of TikTok, and there's all these great live play podcasts and Twitch streams, and it's so readily available. It's so different from when like grandma elder millennial like started playing. Like literally I want to be like back in my day. But like when I started playing D&D, it was like, okay, it was like me and my group of friends with our hard copies of the books sitting around the floor of someone's bedroom with our like handfuls of figs and dice and one battle map and just being like, oh, here we go. And it's so cool now that there's like so much stuff. There's there's so much like cool stuff, right? There's like like death saves. There's like a clothing like brand, like partnered with Watsy, like all this cool stuff. It's wild. It's so cool. Like there's never been a better time to just be like a gigantic nerd.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things I want to say, we both of us want to say thank you for what you do. For someone who is really trying to be like an open ambassador to gaming, that's important. Because I feel like we were speaking about this a little bit before the show about how like the old game shop adage was like, oh, I'm going to be a gatekeeper. No one's going to come in my shop and like change up my life and change up the things we like and blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's a lot of people move in and they make it their home. And the thing about having a home is when you're at your actual home, you want people just busting in there and being there? No, absolutely not. But you can't treat a public space like that.
Right. But
exactly.
Like, that's the thing about gaming that I truly enjoy, because it allows you to have a safe space for people of like mind get together and just enjoy the time that you got to visit with people. And that to me is where the real beauty of like especially role playing, because that's the part of the hobby that I love.
Oh yeah, that's Max.
Oh yeah,
it's my jam.
Absolutely. And I, and as someone that like I've been on the receiving end of that gatekeeping, in the dark days of old, right? Like I was on the receiving end of that gatekeeping, especially like as a girl coming in to play D&D, like, trying to go to the game store or going to the like Pathfinder, like Pathfinder Society or, I was playing D&D at the local college when it was like Greyhawk, like
Living Greyhawk.
Living Greyhawk. I remember going to like Living Greyhawk meetings and like people there being like, we already have our 2 tables set up and we're not excited about another person. Like, and I just remember all that stuff. And so my goal now is like, kick the gates open, everybody in, we're going, like, so it's just
that's just great. And like I said, we both of us from Zach and myself, we just want to say thank you for someone like yourself being such a great open ambassador to the game and to the hobby in general, because that's what we need. We need more people to enjoy cool stuff like this. And
that's it. We just like cool stuff, man.
It is
right.
It's freaking dope, man. But,
make cool stuff, tell great stories, pet every dog. Done. Sold.
The motto. There you go. That's the motto. You have a slogan now.
Yeah.
Dottie, thank you so much. It's really just a great pleasure to have you on the show.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
With the Utmost Sports, I've been Christmas shopping.
Okay.
Going hard, and I got to figure out what to give this guy. I need an autograph from Cat Blackard.
Yeah, we can make this happen. Absolutely. I think she would be thrilled. Yes.
Since the episode we had Cat on, every episode she is mentioned.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I have stand Cat a little bit too much. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, it's okay. I mean,
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
There's nothing wrong with
yes. Yes.
No, Cat was fantastic.
Yeah, no, she's super cool. That's
really
just
awesome. It was a really great interview. I love that one.
We'll have to like we'll have to figure out a way to like get some. Well, hit me up later. We'll make this happen.
To Matt crying on that interview. It's my favorite. About here, please. Here.
It was a good interview, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But Dottie, thank you so much, and I hope sincerely that we'll be able to get you back with us sometime in the future, because I would love to hear about what's going on with your cartography, your 5th curriculum, and of course how many dogs you petted since we've talked.
Absolutely. I not anywhere near enough will be the answer, but
Dottie, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Absolutely.